Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel and welcome to 2022. It is time for a new no-buy video. I am taking on the no-buy for the third year, and as with the previous 2 years, I'm going to be doing it slightly differently this time. If you're new to the idea of a no-buy or a low-buy, it is where you limit your spending in certain areas to improve your spending habits, maybe build up your savings, or to reduce the number of items that you're bringing into your space. Generally, people write their own rules that target their worst areas of spending in order to try and control the situation a little bit better. And they will follow their rules for a fixed period of time, and it's entirely up to you how long you decide to do your no-buy for. You might decide to start small and work up to something bigger. I myself am going to be doing it for the full year for 2022. This year I'm going to be doing a cashless envelope system. The envelope system usually requires that you actually put money to spend into the envelopes, but I never work with cash. It is very rare that I have cash to spend. I do everything on card. So doing the cash envelopes didn't work for me. So I've kind of adapted it and I'm going for a cashless envelope system. I'll get more into that, but if that doesn't seem like it's something that's going to suit you for your no-buy this year, if you're doing one, then do feel free to check out my other two no-buys. The first time I did it in 2020, I did it with a savings goal, and just this idea in mind that I wanted to spend less than I did in the previous year, and I wanted to track the amount I saved so that I could compare the previous year to this first year of doing a no-buy. The second year, which was last year, 2021, I did it based on the number of items that I was bringing into my space. So I tracked how many things I physically bought and brought into my space versus how many items I decluttered and took out of my space. This year, I'm doing it this way. So if you're not sure if this method will be the method for you, by all means stick around. You might find something that is useful to you, but don't feel like you have to do it this way. I have got two other series of videos. They're all in one playlist that you can go and check out for other tips on ways to do your no-buy differently. So this year I really wanted to dive deeper into our financial situation and have a really good look at that in order to plan for my no-buy and to see if this method was going to work for me. So I looked into both my personal finances and our family finances, because we do kind of operate two systems. We have our own money and then we also have joint money that we put together. So however you manage your money yourself, if you have personal money or if you just have all of your money in one place or a bit of both, hopefully there'll be something here that you can relate to. So I started with my personal finances and just broke it down into sort of a mini flow diagram of expenses, if you like. And this doesn't have to be complicated. You don't have to do every tiny little expense because you can group a lot of things together. So start with your income at the top, and depending on how you handle your finances, this might be just your own or for your whole family. Do what works for you. Then break that down into broad categories. For me, I treat my personal finances three ways. There is, first of all, the amount that contributes to family finances. My husband and I each have separate bank accounts with our own money where our own income comes into, but at the start of every month we each put the same amount into a joint bank account that covers everything that's more of a family expense, like bills, family savings, experiences, gifts, and things like that. And for me, 45% of my income goes straight into there as soon as I get paid at the start of the month. My second priority is savings. Now, a lot of people make savings their last priority. After they've had a bit of fun at spending their money, they kind of just save what's left at the end. For me, saving is really important, so I make it my second priority. And 32% of my personal take-home income goes into various places for savings and investments. Then the leftover 23% is what I call personal. So that's the money I can spend how I wish. If I want to go ahead and spend it on something, I can. If I want to save it, I can. That is just sort of my free money because I've already taken into account my bills and my savings. Of that 23%, 5% of it is for personal expenses, things like mobile phone contract and contact lenses. So over my personal spending, or free spending if you like, they take priority because they are actual sort of mini bills that are coming out. So they are dealt with first, which leaves me with 18% of my income left to spend however I wish. And that 18% for me equates to about £380 a month, so it's not an awful lot after all the expenses have gone out. And that £380 is what is going to be shared over my cashless envelope system. So I'll talk about the personal envelopes first, and then we'll talk about the family envelopes after that. So the first thing I've created just to illustrate the idea is an example envelope. So I've started with the heading for the category or expense or whatever it is as you like. So for this one, I've just put example. And at the top, there can be an optional maximum or minimum spend. And then also at the top, I've just put either a P or an F, which is for personal or family, just so I know which sort of expense this is and which bank account the money is coming out of. I then just put the months down the side and how much money I'm freeing up for this particular category for that month. Now, the idea here is that I am thinking about the money I'm spending ahead of the month. So rather than having impulse buys and thinking about it after the fact, I'm planning ahead and I'm asking myself, how much money realistically do I need in this category this month? So gifting, for example, I looked at January and there are no people we buy gifts for in January. So I could automatically go in and say I'll put 0 for gifting in January because I won't need it. Or I could plan it a little bit differently and say I'm going to put X amount of money into gifting, so that can build up over the course of the year, and then maybe at the end of the year you'll have that pot of money to dip into at Christmas. Something like that. So there's a couple of different ways you can think about it. And that's where the minimum and maximum optional spend comes in, and I'll talk more about that in a moment. So you can see next to January, I've just picked a round figure of £100. So that's how much I was allowing for this month. Then I've put 70 underneath. That's to indicate, theoretically in this circumstance, that I spent £70 of that 100. I've then put the £30 in brackets. That's saying that I can now carry that over into the next month. And that's going to be for both more savings themed envelopes, like for example saving over the months for Christmas, or even the ones that are a little bit more like treats and shopping for pleasure. So for example, in one that might be about my wardrobe, if I don't spend some money in January, I'm going to let that roll over in case I want to treat myself in February. That money is already accounted for. So then you can see in February, again, I just put in another £100, but it reads £130 because we've also got that £30 carried over from the previous month. And I just put the arrow in there to remind myself that that is £30 carried over. And that can then just continue. Any money carried over can go into the following month. And I'm going to keep it really simple. I've just got how much is currently sat there for that month, including anything carried over from the previous month, how much I've spent, and then how much is left over to carry on to the next month. And hopefully with this system in place, all the money being spent comes from new earned money, new income, and we will not have to touch our savings at all unless, you know, something like a big emergency happens. So that's an example. So now let's go into our different envelopes. So I've got 5 for family and, wow, 7 for personal. So in personal, again, I tried to do this in order of priority. So I started with my car envelope. So car, you might think, well, that's more of a bill that should be accounted for in such a way, and you're absolutely right. That's why I've put this first. I've just put it as an envelope because car is more of a flexible spend. I spend more some months than others, and I would just like to be prepared for that. So car is one of the examples where I have put a monthly minimum spend, and that is £150 because I estimate that I spend between about £100 and £120 a month on fuel for my car. And so the other £30 to £50 that's left over here, I am building up for my car over the course of the year. So I've just gone with the minimum in January. I've gone for £150. But I could put more in because I know throughout the months of March, April, May and June, I have my car insurance, my vehicle tax, my MOT and my service. So all of those come out in those 4 consecutive months. So if I can build up a little bit here, then that will help me later on. It might not cover it, and that might mean when it comes to, let's say, April, I might have to put in more than £150, and that's something I'll have to budget for within that month. So I'm going to sort of do this as I get to the month so I can prepare for it and sort of plan ahead for the month. But the idea is the planning ahead. That's the key thing. Any money that I think I will spend, I am making a note of, and I'm not allowed to go over that. So I've got to plan for that money, and that's how I'm forming the rules of my no-buy this year. Everything has to be accounted for, and there is no sort of cheat money available. If you've not got the money here, you're not allowed to spend it. I think car will be the only one that's sort of a difficulty there, because if somehow something's gone wrong with my car and I need to make car payments, that's going to be a bit of a sticky situation. But that's why I am not planning on spending the entirety of that £380 a month. I'm planning on having some of that left aside at the end, unaccounted for, so that I could use that in an emergency also if I needed to. So that's car, and that is a personal finance with a minimum spend. Next is gifts, and this is personal gifting. The only gifts I have to buy personally from my own money, or choose to buy I should say, are gifts for my husband. Now his birthday is in February, so if I can start to build up a little bit of cash in January and in February for his birthday, then that is absolutely fine. And then really for the rest of the year, it will just be building up to Christmas at the end of the year for a gift for him for that. So there's not going to be a lot of money going into this envelope. We don't buy each other gifts for anniversaries or Valentine's Day or anything like that. We sort of just enjoy each other's company rather than buy a physical gift. So this is going to be quite a light envelope throughout the year. I could have put a minimum spend on this one, but I didn't feel like it was necessary because it's not going to need to build up to a massive amount. Next is wardrobe. Now I did consider putting a maximum spend on this one. So something that's more of an enjoyment area of spending. So you might say, I'm not going to spend more than £50 a month in my wardrobe or in my beauty or in my household or whatever it is. Because even though that money might build over time, you don't want to dedicate more than that amount of your income per month to this area. I've not put that on there because I think over the last few years I've really built some good habits when it comes to clothing shopping, but I have given myself a little bit of free spend in this one because I do want to use this year to continue to work on my capsule wardrobe. I am not a little bit worried anymore that I will go back to my old ways and go mad shopaholic and spending loads and loads of money and buying loads of clothes. I am comfortable that I am past that point and I can trust myself. So in wardrobe in January, I have allowed for £100 in this envelope. I don't think I will spend all of that, but it's there, and then I know it can roll over, and then maybe for the next few months I won't put anything in there. So that's just for me, so I've got a little bit of a treat, a little bit of enjoyment if I want to spend it, but this is my only envelope this month that's got any sort of treat and free spending. Next is beauty. Now I have planned ahead for this one. I've taken a good look at all my sort of beauty products and areas I need to spend in, and there's only one thing that I've anticipated that I think I'll need, that I think will run out during January and I won't have enough, and that is my moisturiser. So all I've done is I've put enough money in this for moisturiser, and that is it. So I can't then, whilst I'm on the website, sneak something in and treat myself to something else. My treats, as I've said, this month are in wardrobe. So because I've only given myself £25, that's it. There's no room for any treats. This is all I've got this month. And so it's just for the practical items that I actually need to replace something that will run out. There isn't any free spend left over after that. So it's very restricting in that sense, and it will stop me buying beauty products that I don't actually need. Household, I have given myself £0. Now, household for personal is different to the household for family. Household for personal is for little things for the house that I think we need, and it's probably more of a want than a need, rather than, you know, sort of repairs, things for maintaining your house and the things inside it. So I have given myself no spend in January, and because this is not something I feel like I need to build up over time, because any actual emergency situations for household will come out of the family household envelope, I don't feel like I need to build this one up over time. So there is £0 going in here in January, very, very light envelope. Entertainment is for sort of anything for my own enjoyment at home. So not necessarily sort of experiences going out and things like that. So things like if I wanted to buy a movie on Amazon Prime, or buy art supplies, or buy a new book, something like that. I have not given myself anything in entertainment for January. The reason being is we've just had Christmas. I have received some gifts. I think I've got plenty to keep me entertained for the time being. I don't feel like I need to put any money in entertainment in January. And then the last is other, into which I have put £45 of my income, which is basically what is left over. That is the rest of that £380. I didn't call this one savings because it's not necessarily savings, and it's separate from the savings I already make as my bigger second priority. This is a bit of a flexible fund, if you like. So the money left over goes into here. It's not physically going into here, but it's accounted for. And this can be used in emergencies. It can be used for a little bit of a free spend if I wish. But honestly, knowing myself and knowing my habits and knowing how keen I am to save, I imagine I will be really particular about this, and I think I will do my best to just leave it, and whatever goes in here stays in here as additional savings. As with last year, I do have a goal to save £10,000 over the course of the year, and the regular savings I make as my second priority account for about £7,200. So anything left over in here will be used to top up that savings amount. So that is just what's left over. Now, the thing I've not talked about is how this actually works then. If it's cashless, what's the point in having an envelope rather than a piece of paper? And the idea is, for example, let's do the car one, is when you spend any money, you make a note of it and you just pop it in the envelope, and so you can assess for the month, and then you can work out how much you've spent to then carry over into the next month. You can also make sure you're not getting too close to that spending limit and need to make sure you put the brakes on and stop spending. So you could put receipts in here if you get receipts. You can just do a little scrap of paper and you can just make a little note of what you spent and just pop it in here, and it's really just to keep track. When the month is over, you could keep them, or you can just get rid of them and start afresh for the next month, or you could just fold up a piece of paper in here and make a list. So that's just what the envelopes are for. It's kind of just to keep you accountable, have something visual that you can refer to and track your spending. So then that takes us onto the family envelopes, of which there are 5. So if you manage your finances as a family, this might be more relevant to you. As I said, this doesn't have to be complicated, and you don't have to do it for every single bill that you have or every expense that you have. So what I did is I calculated all our fixed expenses together. So mortgage, gas and electric, internet, Netflix, home insurance, life insurance, water, council tax, there's so many. So I just put that all together and know that that is just my bills, and these are for what's left over. So I worked out, of the money that my husband and I put into that family, that joint account, we both put the same amount in, 73% of it is spent on our bills. So we still have that 27% left over, and we needed to decide how we were going to spend it, how we can be sensible with it but still enjoy it, and so that's where the family envelopes come in. So the first one for us is grocery, and notice I just have a little F in the corner for this one because it's a family envelope. I have decided I'm going to try to cut down our weekly grocery shop. So we do our grocery shop, we do one big shop for the week, and that is it. We don't get in any other groceries. I plan my meals. Generally speaking, I'm pretty good. But the thing I don't do is look out for cheapest options or offers that are on. I just get what we always get. And so we're roughly spending around £80 to £85 a week on our groceries, which I think is quite a lot for 2 people. So I have reduced that and put a weekly spending budget of £65 on our groceries. And then I've looked in the calendar, and we always do our grocery shop on a Friday. So I've looked to see how many Fridays are in that month, because some months will have 4, some months will have 5, you know how it works. And so based on that, there are 4 Fridays in January. So I have given us £260 on groceries. This is just to encourage me to spend that extra few minutes looking for offers and planning our meals based on what's on offer at the store at that time, and really just cutting back and being sensible about it. So that is our first one. Again, that's the sort of thing, a bit like car, where you think, well, that's really a bill. Why have you done an envelope for it? It's because it's flexible. It's because it's changeable. And it's also because it's something I want to monitor. So if there's anything you want to keep an eye on and see what's going on in terms of a financial situation, you know, make an envelope for it so you can track it and keep an eye on it. Next is gifting, but this is the family gifting. So other than our gifts to each other, we always do all of our gifting out of our joint or family account. So we do need to build up some money in there. Now, as I said, we've got no gifts to buy in January. I looked on the calendar, there's nothing coming up, but it would be nice if over the course of the year we could build this up. So either when birthdays for other people come around, or at the end of the year for Christmas, there is some money set aside already for our gifting. I am planning on cutting back even more and being more strict on my budget at Christmas, but I still want to make sure I've got that money accounted for. Then up next is the household. Again, I could have put a minimum spend on here just to ensure that this builds up. So I've put January for £50. This is the one that is more for things that need doing around the house. If something is faulty, if something breaks down, if something needs repairing or replacing, I would like to build up a surplus of money that we can then use should we need to. Now, of course, the physical money isn't going to be in the envelope, it will just be sat in the account, but at least we know that that money is there. So just £50 in January to start that off, and over the course of the year, this will be built up, and unless something happens that needs repairing, or if we realise there's something we would like to purchase as sort of something for the house, then that is where it comes from. We then have experiences. So this can be anything from saving for a trip or going out for the day, or even just going out for a meal or getting a takeaway. I don't foresee us doing anything in January. Again, we've just had all the excitement of Christmas. I don't think we'll need anything, but it would be nice to build up a little bit of money in here should we decide a bit later on in the year that we do want to do something or go on a trip, or if we just fancy going out for a meal, there's a little bit of money set aside to do that. But also at the same time, it's going to restrict us. You know, if I'm only putting in £40 in January, we can't have a takeaway every week in January on £40. That's not going to stretch. So at the same time, it also limits us to be a bit more sensible. And we can keep in mind that if we're saving up for something a bit bigger, like a trip, maybe we don't blow this money on having loads of takeout. Maybe we save this money and cook for ourselves. And then for this one, I have called it savings. This is family savings or joint savings. So this again is what is left over, what is unaccounted for our 20% of money left over. So whatever's left goes in here, and this will build up again over time. If we are in a sticky situation and we need to dip into any savings, I would like them to be these savings rather than any savings we've made prior to this year. My goal here is that we don't have to touch any finances, any secure savings or investments that we have made prior to 2022, because we are routinely making savings as we go along, and if anything bad should happen, this is where we come. We can dip into this if we need to, and any savings we've put the effort into last year, they are secure. Now, obviously, there could be some really, really dire circumstances that mean that this won't be enough, especially if something happened really early on in the year and this has not had the time to build. You know, be realistic about that. But if everything does go according to plan, we should not have to touch any savings we made prior to 2022. But we'll see how it goes. So as I've said, as we make a payment or we buy something, we're just going to make a little note and pop it in the envelope so we can assess at the end of each month. And then at the end of the month, I will make a note of how much of that money was spent, which in the savings one, hopefully is not a lot, and then how much can be rolled over to the next month. And you add that to what you are also putting in for February. So if I put in another £150 in February, but I didn't spend any of my £150 in January, then it would read February £300. And I will go in at the end of every month, assess the situation and plan for the further month. And again, doing things like looking at calendars to see if there's any birthdays coming up, looking at my beauty products to see if I'm going to run out of anything, and I just need to make sure I've got that little bit of money to spend topping up that item and nothing more, not giving myself any freedom there, but also giving myself some area of freedom. So for me, I've given myself a little bit of spend in January if I want it on wardrobe. I think that the headings I've chosen for my envelopes cover a lot of things. I think one of the more general ones will be household. I think there's a lot you could put into that in previous no buys I've broken down into separate categories. I think there's a lot that could go in there, and I think entertainment can also cover a lot. But if partway through the year I realise there's something that really could do with its own separate envelope, I will just make one and go from that month. That doesn't matter. I can always add an envelope. As long as your leftover money, so in the case of my personal finances, that was that 18%, which was about £380, is spread over the envelopes and you're not spending more than that, we can't spend money we haven't got, then that's fine. And likewise with our family spend, as long as it's not over that leftover 27%, then that is fine. And so this is just going to be my method this year for tracking my spending and encouraging me to do a no buy or low buy. And so my restrictions might change each month. So you can see that this month I've given myself a bit of flexibility in wardrobe. That's going to be my treat area this month, but absolutely zero flexibility in beauty. It's simply just that one replacement that I have planned for. There is no wiggle room for anything else. I've not given myself anything in entertainment, and I've not given myself anything in household. So by having these envelopes, I have restricted my spending before I even get there. And that's it. That is how I'm planning to do my no-buy this year. Let me know in the comments if you're planning on doing a no-buy, what your goals are, where are you restricting, and how are you doing your no-buy this year, because there's a few different ways you can do it and measure it. And so as you've seen, I'm going to do a cashless envelope system this year. I hope you found some of the ideas in this video useful. If you did, remember to give the video a thumbs up and subscribe if you're not already. And I will be bringing you regular updates about my no-buy throughout the year. I will definitely do one at the end of January just so we can assess that first month and planning into February. So I will leave this one here. Thank you so much for watching. All the best for 2022. I hope you have a fantastic year and a fantastic no-buy if you're thinking of doing one. I will see you in the next video. Until then, take care. Bye!